everybody. Thanks again, as Nicole said, for taking some time to be with us today. My name is Greg Martin. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for Research and Academic Services at PHSA. I joined in November, and I was happy to have this opportunity to just sort of open the meeting and have a few remarks. You'll see my name apparently on standard operating procedures that will be released over time. And I thought it might be helpful just to put a bit of a name and the face together. And provide a bit of context. PHSA's research strategic plan is referred to as the research roadmap. Some of you may have had input into its development. It was through developing and implementing the roadmap that our clinical trial support services came to be. And I really want to thank and acknowledge Andrew and Heather and all of the team for really leading the way on creating and delivering these services. The Clinical Trial Quality Assurance Program that you'll hear about today is the latest addition to the suite of services the team is really excited to offer. The goal for this team is to provide you with tools to enable your regulated clinical trials to be compliant with Health Canada requirements and others, but that is the core focus. They are here to help all PHSA affiliated investigators. There's a bespoke team at the Cancer Centre. But we are here to help all affiliated investigators, and we'll happily collaborate with quality assurance teams in the regional health authorities as well, for those of you working on multi-jurisdictional trials. We are genuinely committed to doing this work, and I'm sure you will appreciate both the information you'll hear today and subsequent engagement with this team. So thank you again for taking the time to be here, and I'll pass it back to Andrew to get into the really good stuff. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that intro, Greg. Really appreciate it. I will start up the slides for today. There we go. And hop in. Okay, I have a feeling that, there we go. Okay, I believe you should be seeing the slides at the moment. We're all good to go. Excellent.
Yes, it looks great.
Perfect, thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Andrew, the quality lead of the PHSA Clinical Trial Support Services Quality Assurance Program. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk about clinical trial regulatory support available to all clinical researchers across PHSA. In April, we did the Clinical Trial Support Service team did present a high-level overview of our team and the support services available under the 3 streams of the Clinical Trial Management System, Quality Management, and Data Analytics and Reporting. And today, we're really excited to dive more into the quality management support and other support services available to research teams at the various institutions within PHSA. So on the agenda for today, I'll start off by introducing the team and QA program. Then we'll dive into our QA support services, what other support is available to research teams within the various institutions, and then we'll end off with opportunities to connect with us and answer any questions you might have. So introducing the PHSA Clinical Trial Support Services team. From left to right is Quality Assurance Associate Symonette Gloriani. Next to her is Clinical Trials Monitor Jessica Tran. Myself in the back. Next is Shane Feinstein, Quality Assurance Associate from the CRSU at BC Children's Hospital Research Institute. In the back, again, is Business Analyst Kai Lee. Next to him is the Director of Clinical Trials Administration, Heather Lockyer. And on the right is CTMS Project Manager, Melissa Clarkson. We all work really closely together to best support you, the trial teams, and presenting today on the QA Focuses service will be myself, Jessica, Symonette, and Shane. When it comes to specialized quality support for regulated clinical trials, think about us helping educate and equip you and your team to ensure regulatory compliance so that you can run a high quality trial that would pass a Health Canada inspection. We're here to help all PHSA affiliated investigators and their research teams. And as Greg mentioned, noting that BC Cancer campus sites do have a dedicated QA team in the Provincial Clinical Trials Office. If you're PHSA affiliated, yet running a trial on a campus under a different health authority, we can work collaboratively with that health authority's QA department to ensure you get the support you need in your trial environment. We regularly have contact with other QA teams, and we all work very closely together. Now, talking a little bit about the regulatory basis of a quality assurance program and quality management systems. We'll start with the International Council for Harmonization, or ICH for short. They started introducing quality assurance principles in the second revision of E6 Good Clinical Practice, also known as GCP, back in 2016. In 2021, they embedded the topic of quality by design into the overarching considerations for clinical trials in the first revision of the E8 guidance document, and now have fully expanded on and expect quality assurance in the third revision of GCP, released just this year, actually, in January of 2025. So a lot of changes in the regulations, lots of modernization movements happening in the regulations worldwide right now, so it's actually pretty cool. The Canadian regulations have also long expected systems and procedures that ensure quality of every aspect of the trial to be in place. And Guidance 100, released by Health Canada in 2019, clarified what that meant, referencing back to all of these ICH guidance documents, particularly GCP. So all of this is to say that quality assurance processes and quality management systems are fully embedded in the guidance and regulations, and inspectors have started expecting to see them in action. Additionally, to note, teams running investigator-initiated trials are held to a higher standard, having taken on all of the responsibilities of the sponsor. Following the successes of the BC Cancer Quality Assurance Program and noting the gaps that existed in quality support for other institutions, the centralized infrastructure that fosters a PHSA-wide approach to research quality was created to ensure the safe and effective conduct of clinical research. Now, if we're to talk about the role of quality assurance, QA has roles in both prevention, where we like to spend a lot of our time and efforts in developing preventive systems, as well as helping with correction as things pop up. Think of QA as your armorer. We help equip you to perform on the field. We have the helm of knowledge for the wisdom to ask questions early and often. We have the breastplate of preparation, so your documents are in order and you're never caught by a surprise inspection. You have your boots of standard operating procedures, so you have a well-planned path to follow. You have your gauntlets of training, so you know how to do the work. You have your sword of assessment, so you always stay sharp. And the shield of the QA team. We're here to be your first line of defense. And the cape is just to look cool while you're at it. Trial quality is all of our responsibility. With quality comes participant safety and good data. Those are the two pillars of clinical trials that all regulations are created to protect. Now, we recognize that regulation brings with it administrative burden for trial teams. Inspectors expect documentation for everything, or else they will assume it just wasn't done. Our goal is to create documents, processes, and provide trial software that streamlines your trial as much as possible and helps you maintain compliance in a very complex regulatory environment. Like a set of guardrails on a winding mountain road, a QMS, quality management system, is essentially the set of SOPs that directs the QA team's work with you and how research teams maintain compliance with GCP. You might be familiar already with quality control, which is where a sponsor's monitor visits and is primarily concerned with protocol compliance and the trial data in the limited time that they have. The QMS supports compliance more broadly than that, so compliance with GCP and the trial's adopted SOPs. Going through the lists of different systems within this overarching QMS, the document management system is a very burdensome system of how controlling documents like your SOPs and forms are created, reviewed, and controlled for regulatory compliance. We take that burden on so you don't have to. And a fun fact, we're actually deeply involved in the upcoming revision of the N2SOP Set 11. So please send us your feedback on how those SOPs do or do not work for you. The training program dives into different methods of training, sources for the various training topics, and how to document it. We have guides and templates to help research managers build onboarding checklists. So please reach out for help putting those together to ensure that you have the appropriate training for your roles, delegations, trial types, and hospital location. Systems 3, 4, and 5 there all work together to help guide what to do when you, your sponsor, or an inspector makes an observation against your SOPs or the regulations. Don't be left wondering how to fix something. We can definitely help with that. I'll be touching on the CTAP program in a later slide, and the last 3 systems are focused on improving these processes, your vendor experience, and the available research software. This set of SOPs is rolling out in a graduated soft pilot launch this summer, and the whole set is launching with the next N2 set this fall. So definitely keep your eyes out for that, and I'll be sending out a communication when that happens. Okay, so here's a quick overview of all the services we offer before diving into a couple of the biggest topics. We have regulatory compliance, training, and support. So a lot of different topics here. Basically, any aspect of a regulated clinical trial, even prior when you're just trying to set up the trial prior to trial start, we can help with. So please reach out with your questions. Starting off with the Clinical Trials Assessment Program, or CTAP for short. This is a great opportunity where teams can get actionable feedback and support specific to a particular trial. What this entails is booking a time with QA to look at how your trial has been running from the perspective of good clinical practice, GCP. These assessments will generally be narrow in scope, looking at a particular aspect of your trial. I have a few listed here, to provide manageable feedback. If you require a deeper dive, such as your sponsor is going to market from the trial data they've collected, and they might be pressing for a full review, we can internally support you instead. Important to note, these internal assessments and our communications with you are protected from sponsors and regulatory inspectors, so it is a safe space to work through something. You'll receive a certificate that you can use as proof of that QA review. Some major benefits to participating in regular CTAPs with us is that it improves site and sponsor relationships when they can trust that you can internally catch and resolve issues early before the monitoring visit. Number 2, you won't be left guessing how to fix something. We have the experience to help guide you, saving you a lot of time. You'll also have peace of mind that if an inspector comes knocking, you're already prepared. And then you'll also have more peace of mind that your trial is operating well, and you'll get the training and knowledge you need in the moment to run a high quality trial. So it's not just theory training anymore, it's actually practical applied help. And then I'm going to pass it off to Jessica to talk about our clinical trial monitoring program.
Thank you so much, Andrew. All right. So to ensure a study is being conducted in a quality fashion, we need to have quality control measures in place. Quality control measures in general, or monitoring specifically, is a hard requirement for regulated trials. There's just no way around it. Monitoring involves the review and verification of many documents, data, and process, and it is an ongoing effort throughout the study. It is there to ultimately ensure that the participants' rights are protected, the trial data integrity is upheld, and the trial's being compliant in general. So one way for you to check whether your study is regulated and whether monitoring requirement applies is to check if you have a no objection letter or a letter of authorization from Health Canada. So if you see one in the regulatory binder, your study is a regulated study and it is subjected to monitoring. So when a study is required to have monitoring in place, who is actually responsible for ensuring that it happens? the regulations deem that the sponsor is ultimately responsible for ensuring that adequate monitoring is happening throughout the study. So that can be an industry entity for industry-sponsored trials, or it can be an academic organization for an academic trial. For trials that are initiated and conducted by an investigator, the investigator is then wearing two hats, the sponsor hat and the investigator hat. So the responsibility to make sure monitoring is in place now lies with the sponsor investigator in this case. Another important thing to note is that to properly mitigate bias throughout this quality control process, the person conducting monitoring activities cannot be involved in the actual conduct of the study. So for researchers that are wearing the sponsor's hat here at PHSA for a regulated trial, we are here to help you fill that monitoring needs. Monitoring services at PHSA comes in a tiered costing model, which is dictated by the study funding source to ensure that you get the monitoring you need, regardless of your ability to pay. And I want to re-emphasize what Greg and Andrew brought up earlier, is our team, the QA team, the clinical trial support team, including this monitoring program, is to serve all PHSA affiliated investigators and their research teams, noting that BC Cancer sites do have a dedicated team in the Provincial Clinical Trials Office. So for sponsor investigators or for research staff out there that are working on an investigator-initiated study, if your study is regulated and it is already up and running, but yet to have monitoring in place, please connect with us after this session. We want to make sure you have monitoring to be compliant, and our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. For sponsor investigators that are studying up a study, please still engage with us early to ensure there's budget for monitoring. Remember, it is a hard requirement. And for researchers and teams who are being monitored by an external entity, we can still be of help. So if you're not sure how to prepare for your monitoring visits, we can chat. And not sure how to approach monitoring observations, we can go through it together. Just shoot us an email or set up a time with us. And again, our contact information will be at the end of this presentation. And then I'll hand it off to Symonette to talk about our other quality assurance services.
Thank you, Jessica. Here are some of the services that we provide. Real-time is a clinical trials management system that improves the efficiency of clinical trials operation by standardizing the process, enhancing operational and financial oversight, and reducing administrative burden. The QA team's role within CTMS is to ensure that the system is used by the research teams correctly, consistently, and in line with Health Canada regulations, good clinical practice guidelines, good documentation practices, and other relevant standards. We are currently developing a CTMS QA learning program that will help research teams and new users to use real-time correctly, consistently, making sure they are following the CTMS SOPs and processes. We will also help identify gaps and support refresher training sessions when needed. Ongoing checks will also be performed on documents that are uploaded and version controlled. Our team can also provide live support for best practices and ongoing training. One cool function of CTMS is the QC portal. It is a function that allows us to review, verify, and flag documents for correction and raise questions for clarifications. It is an internal communication system. It is only seen within the research team and the QA team and will not be visible in the monitor's portal, making it confidential. Another great function is in real time is the general site documents. This contains all the common institution documents that most teams use, including service provider certifications, training, and some equipment calibrations. The QA team maintains the documents within general site documents, and the research teams that are already using real time already have access to these documents within their studies. If you are already using real time and you don't see the documents that you want, just reach out to us and we will make sure that they will be uploaded there. We are hoping that more teams take advantage of this service especially of real time, appreciating its efficiency, dedicated support, and streamlined approach to saving both time and paper. Here are some of the positive testimonials highlighting how real time has helped them within PHSA. Another important service is inspection, audits, preparation, and support. Inspection and audits are essential checkpoints in clinical research. They ensure compliance with GCP, Health Canada regulations, and other applicable regulations and standards. Our QA team's role is to guide, prepare, and support research teams during inspection and audits, making sure they are ready, confident, and fully compliant. If you receive any inspection notice from a regulatory authority, please contact the QA team immediately. The sooner that we know, the more effectively we can help you prepare. We'll guide you through the next steps and start preparation right away. We also support sponsor audits, whether it's just a routine monitoring visit or a full audit. Our team can assist with preparation and responses. One of the core services is helping identifying findings and observations. We will work with the team to develop corrective and preventive action plans. We can also provide guidance on what to expect during an inspection, how to communicate clearly, and how to manage document requests, as well as the do's and don'ts during an inspection. This can particularly be helpful for any staff new to inspection, building confidence across the teams. We will also review essential regulatory documents for completeness and accuracy, identify and resolve document gaps, as well as help with logistical scheduling, making sure all the important personnel are available and appropriate space for booking is booked for inspection interviews and document review. The QA team has successfully supported research teams during a Health Canada inspection, and we've established a positive rapport with the inspectors. Inspection readiness is not a one-time event. It is an integrated part of clinical trial management. Another important service that our team can provide is document review. Clinical trial documents play a vital role in ensuring compliance with regulatory and quality standards. I've mentioned that a lot of times. The scope of document review includes a wide range of materials, including protocols, informed consent forms, and monitoring plans. Our team would like to emphasize that the importance of document review in the early stages of a clinical trial, both for sponsor and investigator-initiated trials, especially before REB and regulatory submission. The early stage of clinical trial planning is not just about ticking regulatory boxes. It is strategically setting up the trial for success. Taking the time upfront to review and align documents will help teams avoid unnecessary revisions, prevent delays down the line, and stay compliant from the start. When we will identify inconsistencies, regulatory gaps, ethical concerns before they even become issues. The protocol is the cornerstone of clinical trials. Incorporating quality by design, as mentioned earlier, focusing on critical to quality factors during protocol development will improve efficiency, prevent errors that matter, errors that have a meaningful impact on patient safety or data integrity. It can also reduce the burden on participants and even on sponsors. Pre-review will help identify gaps that could lead to REB and Health Canada queries, such as unclear inclusion and exclusion criteria or inadequate safety plans. We can also review your regulatory and REB applications. Regulatory applications include CTA or ITAs, and we will make sure that they are complete, consistent, and clearly aligned with the protocol, as errors or inconsistencies can lead to clarification, request, or even outright rejection. Risk assessments and risk management plans are important documents that identify potential operational and participant safety risks while outlining strategies that mitigate them. With early review, we will ensure mitigation strategies are built into the protocol and monitoring plan. We can also check your informed consent forms if they have clear language, they're non-technical and compliant with ethical and legal standards. The QA team can also review your TMFs and ISFs. If they are all present, they're properly version controlled, and they are aligned to the GCP expectations. Establishing proper organization of your TMF and ISFs can support an efficient site setup and help prevent gaps that may be identified during inspections or audits. The QA team can also provide guidance on identifying which key elements and data points should be clearly and consistently captured in your source documents. Document review, particularly in the early stages of clinical trial planning, is important in ensuring accuracy, compliance, and consistency. Beyond regulatory adherence, it lays the groundwork for ethical, credible, and successful clinical research. I will now hand it over to Shane.
Thanks, Symonette. So another very important role of the quality team at PHSA is to be able to provide teams standardized resources. So this is, it includes all kinds of things, including the equipment calibration and preventive maintenance reports, at least for any hospital maintained equipment maintained by Biomed. It also includes those general site documents. So if you're using real-time CTMS, these will all be located there. However, even if you're not using that system and you're still on paper, we can help provide a lot of these documents for you, such as certification for Cerner, those N2 SOPs, and various pharmacy and lab documents. We also have a lot of templates and tools, as well as training resources and guides that will help with your studies. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Every time you have a new study, you can come to us. And a lot of times we have something available, either ready to use or that can be adapted for your study. Hopefully these will all be in a central repository sometime very soon. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, you can always just email us and we can send it to you. We are currently piloting a lot of different documents, and we continue to develop new ones all the time. So just ask what we have, and if it's not something we currently have, we can add it to our list and work on developing that. This slide is really to remind everyone that the quality team is not your only support for clinical trials at PHSA. We are actually just a small part of a much larger support ecosystem. So some of these support services are kind of centralized and are available to all the institutions, while others are very institution specific, but they do exist. So for instance, the CTMS support is a centralized service, but the statistics support is based on personnel at each institution. So if you don't know who that person is for your institution, you might be able to find it on this slide, or you can always just email us and we can connect you with that right person. The CRSU is another very important service that can be very useful to teams with providing personnel to work on your trials. It is available to all PHSA institutions. However, it is very much based on capacity. So it is possible that they won't have capacity when you need them, but definitely reach out because the only way to grow that capacity is if there is enough interest to keep that capacity growing. So if you don't know where to start, always email us and we can direct you. You can kind of think of us like your wayfinding switchboard. You can also contact us, of course, anytime by email. But if you'd like a more organic conversation or want to really delve into an issue, you can always drop into our weekly chats every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. This really gives you an opportunity to get advice or discuss any issues you've been having. It is a drop-in basis, but you do have to register in advance to get the link. And once you have that link, you can come to any of the Friday sessions you want, stay for as long or as little as you like. And the very first Friday of each month is always dedicated to a particular topic. So the next one coming up will be on quality management systems, very specifically on deviations, investigations, and CAPAs. So that will be the very first Friday in July. You can see our email there, clinicaltrials@phsa.ca. And that will connect you to the entire team, which is really the best way to get a hold of us, because that way the best person to support you will, it just reduces the amount of emailing everyone back and forth if you send it to our centralized support desk. So thanks for coming to our presentation. And of course, we have, it looks like, quite a bit of time for questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Shane, Symonette, and Jessica. Very excited to bring these services to all the research teams at BCCHR, and as well as women's, CDC, mental health and substance use services, all the HIMSS and PCPs, part of PHSA. So really excited to fill all those gaps, and hey, we're open to be contacted. Open for questions. I see something in the chat. Do you have a website with all these resources listed? We do have a website that is available. Let me find that. While you guys are typing up your questions, I will bring that up and pop it into chat. And also this presentation will be posted. And of course, just reach out to our clinical trials email and we will help you out as well.
I do believe that the website is still a bit of a work in progress. So definitely keep checking back as more things are added.
Here we are. Oh, Heather's on it. She beat me to it. There we go. It's in the chat. So I don't know if there's a Q&A. Let's see here, Q&A. Oh, no open questions yet. So really happy that for all the attendees that joined today, because as this rolls out, it'll be a critical part of your clinical trial infrastructure. Yeah, and as you know, certain institutional processes get rolled out with EPUB 2.0, we are actually going to be more involved in the institutional approval process. So definitely reach out to us early and often. If you have a protocol, loop us in right at that stage. We can help look at quality by design principles, critical to quality factors, so that you can start building that risk management plan. And then all of your trial documents, including your monitoring plan, all get based off of that risk management plan. So if you don't have a risk assessment or a management plan in place, you definitely want to get that in place, because all of your compliance requirements are risk-based, right? So you want to know what your risk is so that you don't, I guess, overburden yourself by implementing very burdensome processes, that it can be tailored to your trial. We have another question here. How can we join your meetings like the upcoming Kappa one in July? Will you send out the invites? Yes, so we do. Well, we have.
I'm going to pop it into the chat too, just in a second. Let me grab
Yes,
it.
perfect. Thank you, Shane. The registration link. It has popped into the newsletters a few times, and then periodically we'll continue to do that. I believe on the pod is also where some of those notifications pop up. Perfect. So Shane will pop in the registration link into the chat. Next question is, how do you advise research staff who PIs are resistant to obtaining or don't have time to complete their GCP, Health Canada Division 5 training, et cetera, et cetera? That's a great question. You know, physicians are very busy, and there are a lot of training requirements for regulated clinical trials. So if we're talking about regulated clinical trials, remember the regulations are law in Canada. So compliance with the regulations means you're compliant with the law, and inspectors are badge carrying officers of the Canadian government. So that's kind of your basis there to start off with. These things aren't optional, unfortunately. So if you want to participate in a regulated clinical trial, if you have those burning questions that you want to contribute to your practice, which is all great things, improving clinical care, it kind of comes with the territory, unfortunately.
I can add that we do have multiple options for a lot of that required training now. So it's not just the city program, there's also the Can Train program where you can take some of that training. And that's available to all PHSA affiliated researchers. And after taking both trainings, I can say that the Can Train one is a little bit shorter and a little bit more interactive. So if it is something that they are really dreading, maybe they can try the Can Train one for the refresher, and maybe that won't be quite as bad as they remember.
Yeah, there are some situations where there are trials running in departments where you don't necessarily know when the trial participant's coming on, right? So you have physicians, this is super common in emergency departments, I know the preoperative environment where you have very little or no knowledge of when a participant comes in. So there might be a qualified investigator within that department who's really interested in running a study. And in order to make that study even feasible and work, you need the physician who is available at that moment, whether it's the middle of the night or running a particular list, to be able to assess the eligibility of a participant, right? So very narrow scope of delegation. There is some still requirements with GCP and Health Canada Division 5. And in those particular environments with very limited scope, there are, maybe specific training requirements where we can come in and do a departmental training that might be abbreviated during like a research rounds or something like that. So there are options to help those physicians